How the hell's it going? It is Rich. Welcome back to the studio. I am just getting my shit set up here. We're going to be working on this manga page. And we were working on the last stream doing the pencils and stuff. I didn't have this panel done. I was working on a totally different angle too. And so I basically totally redid that. And I cleaned up some of the stuff, refined some pencils and lines. And yeah, now here we are. Just get some music going and get into my studio. Such a loud click on this mouse. Sorry. Give me 1 second here. We're going to be inking tonight. Get some of this stuff out. These are just some of my... I don't think I'm going to be using this one. Maybe I'll use these. I don't know. Because I really like inking with some traditional brushes. Whenever I'm zoomed out, it looks so dark in here. Zoom in a little bit. Normally I really like inking with this brush. I don't know. I just really want more control with this piece, so. I'm going to give people a second to pop in. I'll put some links in the chat. We'll put in there a link to my Ko-fi account. If you guys enjoy this content, feel free to drop a buck in there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, all that bullshit. I really hate promoting myself. And well, partially because I'm really terrible at it, also because I feel really guilty. Like, I don't know, I feel dirty doing this. So. But also, I don't know, I'll find a link somewhere else after the stream, but my Manga Burst code is on Amazon. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to warm up with this brush. I'm going to try to use this tonight. Just want to warm up on some of these sketches first. So I'm using some Speedball Super Black, yada yada yada. Just got some dirty water here. We got some paper towels. Traditional medium requires a lot of setup, and this actually isn't even that much comparatively to, like, I don't know, like gouache or oils, like actual paint. This isn't even that big a setup, but. I'm just using like a little cap because I don't really know how much I'm going to be using. This will also be a good test for the sketchbook. Brush is definitely harder to use. Than like pen or anything else. But if you get really good with it, then it's like nothing else compares. Albert Santos, how's it going, buddy? 10 out of 10, I appreciate it. I'm just warming up here, and then I'm going to go into working on inking this manga page. How are you doing tonight? Are you drawing with me? See, that's one of the coolest things I think about like YouTube and the ability to go live, is that you could really be drawing with so many people. It's almost like a digital studio. You know, there used to be like art collectives, and they'd be in a studio together. It would just be like some of the most creative and fun environments. Listening to interviews with older artists who came up in studios, it's kind of crazy. And it's like that just doesn't happen today. The closest thing to it we can get is like a digital studio, something like this, where many people are drawing together kind of simultaneously in an online kind of room. That's usually what I do when I'm watching other art YouTubers. I'm usually drawing too, and it's sometimes like the most creative and incredible stuff I pump out. I definitely get in the zone faster. For some reason, especially if it's like a drawing ASMR video, something about just listening to like the pen or pencil scratch across the paper gets me in the zone. Maybe straight hairs over there. It's really just a warm up though. And if you're new here, don't forget to click that like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. This is basically what I do: anime and manga, comic book kind of content, and making the above mentioned stuff. Another guy who I really like to watch is Sean Gordon Murphy, and he's an American comic book artist, but he inks, I want to say, almost entirely with a brush, and he's done several like brush tutorials. Not a lot of stuff, but a few, and it's always like, whoa, that's awesome. This is amazing, and this is what I want to do with my life now. He's very punk rock and really pretty cool. He did a comic called Punk Rock Jesus. I haven't read it, but I've seen enough images that makes me want to. So I have a Batman White Knight, which he did. And that's pretty awesome. The shadow. Very difficult to get used to ink with a brush. Like that nice work. Thank you. Yeah, brush is really difficult to get used to at first. Because it doesn't give you any feedback. You know, the pen, you can feel it touching the paper, and as it slides against it, you can adjust the pressure. With this, there's no pressure sensitivity. It's really insane at first. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Drove me nuts at first. This is stuff that I like. When it starts getting dry, you can do this dry brush technique and get nice textures. And this is actually kind of, this paper is like semi textured, and that's giving it its own kind of texture too when you use a dry brush on it. and the speed you move the brush matters. The pressure matters, and it's not even actual pressure. I don't know how to define it. How much of the brush is touching the paper matters. You can get very fine lines or very thick lines like that. It's crazy. One of my favorite artists is Bernie Wrightson and also Frank Frazetta, but I found out they inked with brush, and I was like, well, now I got to do this. I was like, that's how they achieve those lines? I'm doing it. Sold. Oh, shit. I actually did that on the back of this piece we did the other night. Oh, look at that. It's cool. It doesn't even show through. This is really good paper, and I have no idea what kind of paper it is. This is an awesome sketchbook made by Morrow Man. But let me get the manga page we're going to be working on tonight. The Shadow. Crying, laughing. Not sure if you already talked about it or not, but have you seen the manga for Vagabond use this brush? Of course. Of course. Ah, ooh, shit, what's his name? I want to say Takashi no. Ooh, what's his name? Remind me. I've seen it a bunch. He's done like 2 or 3 different documentaries, and I watch them all the time. Not all the time, but I've definitely seen all of the documentaries that he's done more than once. And there's another thing in Japan called manben, or manben, however you want to pronounce it. And it's like a docu-series where they go into manga artist studios and set up cameras all around the studio and watch them work for 3 or 4 days. And then the host is another manga artist, and he interviews them, and they break down their process and what they're doing. And he's like, oh, right there, I see you took a nap. And like, these guys are straight up taking naps in the middle of the day. Takehiko Ino, that's right. Yeah, excellent brushwork from that guy. I'm not sure this brush is going to be fine enough for some of the lines I want to do here, but we will try. Or will we? Now I'm super nervous. But, oy, oy, oy. Start with some stuff I feel like I cannot mess up. Like, this guy's hair. Alright, well, yeah, and Vagabond is, of course, a great manga, which I've not read all of it yet. But I fully intend on getting around to reading that whole thing. There's those crisp lines. The Shadow, I haven't read much of it. The illustrations are amazing, though. Who would you say are your biggest influences? Good questions. Good questions. Well, Takeshi Obata, for sure. He's the artist on like Death Note and Bakuman, and I think his newest one was Platinum End. He's done a few other things like what's that one? It got adapted into a movie with Tom Cruise. Day After Tomorrow is the name of the movie, but it's based on a manga. I forgot what it's called. All You Need Is Kill. I think it's called All You Need Is Kill. And Takeshi Obata, his line work is just so clean, and his storytelling is so energetic. He makes the story about two manga creators, high schoolers. So interesting and dynamic, and it entertained me for like 10 volumes. It's insane. And yeah, Haruhisa Nakata. Pretty sure he doesn't even ink his stuff. I'm pretty sure it's just his pencils adjusted in Photoshop with like the levels. But it's amazing. I love his style too. It's a little more realistic. So yeah, Sideburns, Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, that's a manga Takeshi Obata did, and then it was adapted into, I think it went to an anime and then a movie, maybe. But yeah. Stopped for too long. Now I gotta reload the brush. Let me get a scrap piece of paper to pop this on real quick. My daughter's drawing. Cool. Joe Mad, another huge influence of mine. He's an American comic book artist who's really influenced by manga and anime. Jim Lee, of course, Frank Frazetta, and Adam Warren, a lesser known artist. He was really big in the 90s. He's still one of my favorites, and he was one of the first people to combine the American and anime styles. Ed Benez is a Brazilian artist, and he's kind of like if Joe Mad met Jim Lee. I think his style is perfect. Yeah, they're all great artists. It's really hard to narrow it down. I feel like I steal a little bit from everybody. Michael Turner, great artist who died many years ago, but he was the creator of like Witchblade and Fathom. No, not Witchblade. He didn't create Witchblade, but he was a huge artist on it. He came up on that. But he created Fathom, and then Aspen Comics. Anyone else remember Michael Turner? He drew beautiful women. Beautiful. I've got his Wizard Showcase book. It has like every cover he ever did in there. Shadow, sometime tonight, man. You gotta, or whenever. But I'll look him up. He was super influential in the early 2000s. Everybody was trying to copy him. He was like the guy. He came out of Top Cow Comics under Mark Silvestri and stuff. So he kind of had Mark's style, some style choices that he has, but dude, he blew up. Back in like the 90s, he did some Wizard covers too, and they were like, man, this kid's got something. Like, he was just the best female artist back then. I'm not the best inker. But I do kind of enjoy it. And I'm not going to pay someone else, so I'm doing everything on my comic or manga, whatever you want to classify it as. It's dipping into both worlds, so but doing everything myself, so the Shadow, looking at it, looks great. Definitely Silvestri, similar to David Finch. Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure they worked at Top Cow probably at the same time. Matter of fact, I think I've heard Dave Finch talk about him before. Really sad he passed away from bone marrow cancer. If you can and you haven't yet, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Also, found out a little secret, a little YouTube secret. If you click the share button and the copy link, you don't have to send it to anybody, but if you do that, it tells the algorithm that I'm pretty awesome. And I like to lie to YouTube whenever I can, so. I'm also joking, but not. I actually don't lie to YouTube that much, but I don't like Big Brother stealing all the data and everything, so screw them. Don't tell them I said that, though. So you guys in here back in any interesting comics? Anybody back Isom? Honestly, not sure what to think about Isom. I have not read any of it. Honestly, I don't back a whole lot of stuff. I got burned one time, and all the projects that I back just kind of take forever to fulfill. And I'm like, I'm paying like 25 bucks for one issue, and it's taken 6 months. And granted, I get like stickers. Cyberfrog sent me a statue or a little figure statue thing. I'm just like, it's a long time. 25 bucks, and I get the extra stuff, but I don't know. I don't really care about the extra stuff. But I've been seeing a bunch of stuff about Isom on YouTube. Something about him and EVS. I don't know. But I saw some shit about, I don't know if it's Isom or one of Eric July's other comics that he's putting out, had like some, I don't know, like SketchUp, Google SketchUp stuff in there. I was looking, I was like, this is bad. That's not good. But I backed other projects. Joe M. Sontag had what was it? Ripper something. Shit, what was that called? Got it over here in my stash somewhere. Looking in the wrong pile. I have so many comics, I have different piles. Oh, I hope I'm looking in the right pile. So many words that were the hell. No, I have no idea where it's in. It's in one of my other piles. Ah, shit, snack, Scooby-Doo. Where'd it go? Lost in here somewhere. When it comes to brush and ink, Kim Jung-gi was amazing. Just got some splatter there. Just absolutely amazing. And it wasn't even necessarily about his brushwork. It was about like his perspective. You know, you just bust stuff out of memory at crazy perspectives. But seeing his stuff made me realize, wait a second, like, his brushwork isn't highly refined like Bernie Wrightson or Frank Frazetta, or even like, you know, just normal American comic book inkers. He wasn't super refined like, you know, Scott Williams or Jay Lee. But his stuff was amazing. Like, I couldn't stop looking at it. You know, sometimes it was like a little wobbly. But it didn't matter. And that made me kind of flip the way I think about line work. Or how I think about my art. You know, it's like just kind of like this aha moment. The lines don't have to be perfect for some reason. This guy's conveying a lot of energy and interesting composition, and the idea, he was nailing everything else. So I was like, well, okay. Then line work isn't everything. And it's kind of like, yeah, duh. At the time, I thought like line work and perfect anatomy was everything. Line work, style, anatomy. Thought those were just like the core what I needed, but he had something else to him. It was real creativity and real artistry. Not to mention just absolutely perfect memory for how things look. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure if he had like a perfect memory or eidetic memory. But he understood how things worked and how they were made and assembled. I think he just studied engineering. I'm not sure if he addressed that anywhere, but he said at one point that he understood how things worked. And I take that to mean he studied how things fucking worked and maybe probably picked up like an engineering book. Perspective is a beast. Getting grasp of it is so frustrating at times. Yeah, it is. I'm right there with you. This first panel that I'm working on here, this was going to be a totally different angle. It was going to be like a helicopter view of this room. And I was struggling because it had to be 3-point perspective. And, you know, I can do one, but don't ask me to do 3. I can even do 2. Like 2, okay. Just 2 dots. For some reason, I'm wrapping my mind around the 3rd. Dude. It was nuts. You have the perspective off to far in the distance, and then far down, and then far to the right. And that was too much. It was like, maybe I can find an example of this exact shot that I want to do. I couldn't find an example. I couldn't find anything close enough. I was like, maybe this is not meant to be done. And then I remembered all those interviews from like Jim Lee and the other image guys, and the comic joke, like, well, if you can't do it, or, you know, to save time, they would just put like a big bird in the scene that covers up most of the city shot that they were trying to do, you know? It's like, oh, you don't want to draw all those people. Oh, there's a balloon floating by, and it made the shot more interesting and dynamic, but also removed a bunch of work. I was like, okay, so they do it too, you know? This isn't necessarily a cheat. This is, you know, working with your limitations, and I can do something within my limitations that it also looks great, and that's what I found. Changed the angle, lowered it down. Got this witch lady in the front. I think they just call her Granny, and she's kind of the healer type. We got all these people talking about our main character as he's laid up in bed. Yep, so true. Oh, you know what? I was up and over here. I should have grabbed shit. I don't know how old you guys are, but if you're anywhere near my age, you remember Wizard magazine. They had these Millennium editions. I got Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee, and Michael Turner. And yeah, this is what I want to show you. Some Michael Turner shit here. Well, he was also a prodigy. Like, this was his comic sample here, and it looks terrible. Sample pages, wow, Top Cow, once they realized he had only been drawing for a few months and paved the way for Turner's rise to the top. He had only been drawing a few months. And he was drawing like that. So he was kind of a prodigy. And then he quickly went to drawing like that. Drawing backgrounds for Mark. I actually got his first published work. It's an issue of Ballistic. It's nuts. He's not the greatest artist, but his style and, man. His women are sultry and beautiful, but he doesn't push it too far into, like, you know, into the Ichi realm. It's still very classy. So yeah, just want to show that off real quick. Shadow, looking at guys like Yusuke Murata, and I'm left speechless with the crazy angles and detail you can fit in a panel. Yeah, One Punch. He's got a YouTube channel, I've seen it. And yeah, he's nuts. There's so many good artists out there and good manga, and it's like I haven't read nearly half of the ones that I want to. Partially just limited on time, but also, like, there's a good manga out there. It gets published for like 20 volumes, you know? It's a lot to read. There's a lot to absorb, and just in my day, man, I can only absorb so much. But yeah, every now and then I'll watch some Yusuke Murata, but I'll tell you, one of my favorites is Haruhisa Nakata, and he's got a YouTube channel too. He hasn't uploaded in years. And all of his videos are live and silent, totally silent. So it's not even entertaining. But if you're an artist, you know, you might like to watch it just to see his process. And I'm telling you, he does not ink his comic. It's just super tight, super clean pencils, and it's really interesting to see. Yeah, One Punch is insane. Oh, how do I spell, what is it? Haruhisa Nakata. Haruhisa, then Nakata. He works on Levius, EST. I love his style. It's not, you know, super manga. Like, you know, I love my Hero Academia. I love it. The story, the characters, the art is super refined. The screen tones, the level of screen tones and energy in it, it's amazing. But I don't really care for like the features. They're super cartoony. This is what I like feature-wise and aesthetic-wise. Um, his storytelling is a little hard to follow sometimes. Sometimes there's like a whole panel setting up. It's sometimes it can be hard to tell. But when there's action, it's also sometimes confusing. You can just see like there's a lot of energy there, a lot of movement, but it's hard to tell sometimes. But style-wise and the process, obviously, is what I'm looking at. But yeah, you see, he's done nothing but lives. They're incredibly long. No sound. And I'll be like, dude, you could have made so much money on YouTube if you just put some sound in there. He's done, I think he's trying to transition into anime. Because he did character designs for a new Lupin movie. Lupin the Third versus Cat's Eye. I watched that, it was pretty cool. Great designs. And a couple years ago, he did the character designs for a different anime called Fairy Gone, which I actually did like a few early videos about. Like, it's the stupidest name for an anime. The name doesn't make me want to watch it, but this was probably the first time I noticed his work specifically, because I was like, but the character design's amazing. The art and animation were on point for Fairy Gone. But it's a stupid name. It's like I almost didn't even want to tell people I'm watching this show about fairies. It's called Fairy Gone. Yeah. Something about working with a brush just makes me feel like a real artist. I feel like I'm painting. It's really fun. So this is going to be a solid black area. So that's why I'm like doing my practice strokes over here. That's the interesting thing too, is like manga artists, they don't have well, from what I've seen in Manben, like their line work isn't as clean as American comic book artists are. And that's been really interesting. I don't mean that in like an insulting way. It's just an interesting thing. Like they're way scratchier, and they don't seem to be as obsessed with like line weight as Americans are. And I think it might be because they use screen tones as well, and that tends to convey light source. It's crazy. The American comic book process is kind of based on a model that doesn't really work anymore. Because we used to have a penciler who would do tight lines and then go to an inker to ink those lines. And we had to do inks because the scanners back then couldn't reproduce this light pencil work. So it had to be all in black and white. And then a colorist would do like one, maybe two tones. And now it's like, well, scanners can pick up anything, you know? Our editing programs can clean it up amazingly, you know? So the inker, I mean, I love inked art, but if that's not the look you want, then you don't have to do that anymore. It was really out of necessity. Yeah, clean, I mean, you know, My Hero Academia, Bakuman, those two that I just showed you, the line work's really clean and polished. But this tends to be the trend now. Jujutsu Kaisen, it's just scratchy as hell. And it's like he did it with a ballpoint pen. Not even a ballpoint pen. It's very scratchy, very few line weights. This really looks like some sort of... He just used a random pen in his house. This isn't super clean. It's not... I don't know. It's very rough, and it seems to be more and more acceptable in the norm. Which I don't mind. Like, that's what the book is calling for, and that's what you want to do, then, you know, it's your book. Do what you want. But, like, that wouldn't pass in comic books over here. Some manga artists are super clean. Now I'm like walking back my stance, but some are really clean and highly polished, but it seems like the trend tends to be the opposite. It's going in the other direction. I don't know, man. I was just watching Manga and I was like, man, these guys don't care about line weights that much, and they're super fast. Just busting out. Like I'm conveying some sort of line weight over here. These lines are darker. Well, they're thicker. So there's a line over here that's going to be lighter. Because there's a light source over here. And yeah. feel like you don't get a whole lot of that nowadays. And if you're new here, can you go ahead and hit that like button? Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, yada yada yada. All that usual stuff. Tonight I'm inking a page from my manga called Burst Code. And this is from issue 1, which is actually my second issue because I did issue 0. And you can read that on Amazon if you want to. It is $1 for the digital version. I got like 3 pages you can read for free on Webtoons. How's the audio tonight? I'm using some Bluetooth headphones. I don't know if it's... YouTube doesn't give me an option for like audio when I'm streaming through my phone. But so I'm assuming that it's like going through these headphones, but I have no idea. How's it going out there? Sorry, I'm kind of sick. Like, I don't know. I get a cold and I have like a cold for a month. It's always really mild, but I'll have it for a month. It's insane. Ever since I turned 30, man. Do I have any other 30 plusers in here? Oh shit, I had a pencil just in my ear the entire time. So I'm about to turn 35, and it just kind of hit me the other day that, like, man, I am old. Like, I'm really old now. Like, I'm not really old, but now I really mean it when I say it. I'm not saying it ironically, or like, I just feel old in this moment. I think I'm old now. Like, before when I said it, I was like, I'm at the older stage of being young. You know, that's how I felt. Like, I'm still young, but I'm one of the older of the young people. And now I just feel like I'm one of the younger of the old people. Um, I've turned a corner. My knees always hurt. And that's not new. It's just like, I don't know. I'm like, man, I really am too old for this shit. Fuck. I'm 35. My hair's mostly gray. What's going on with this brush?
One of the things you got to manage with a brush is the flow of the ink. Sometimes they're just loaded up too much for you to do what you want. You're getting too thick a line. So you go fill in a black and then come back to that later. Anybody reading any good manga? How about webtoons? I'm trying to get into webtoons, but it's so hard to find good stuff. Or I guess the stuff that I'm into. I really like Windbreaker though. Which really surprised me. It's not my usual pick. I don't care really for sports. So sports manga getting my attention. Pretty interesting. But the art's really good. I really enjoy it. Windbreaker is one of those webtoons where the format, the dude really made it work for him. Here he's not too wet. doesn't dog hair? Doesn't make any sense. Probably cat hair. If you subscribe to me on YouTube, then you see my community posts, and which usually contains like sort of behind the scenes stuff. And I posted a picture the other day of my cat, who loves hanging out in my studio. And I feed him goldfish. Don't know if that's healthy for the cat, but he seems to be doing fine. Now I gotta wear readers and shit. Too old. I feel like I'm too young to be feeling this old, honestly. But shit. Those lines look terrible. Sometimes you gotta add water to the ink. It's like a weird science to it to get the right consistency. There's a lot going into brushing ink. A lot more than I ever thought. Richard Friend has some good YouTube videos on it. How the hell's it going tonight, guys? Anyone else in here drawing with me tonight? Sorry, is my head getting in the way sometimes? It's weird. trying not to. Just gonna slide you over a bit. And hopefully that means I can put my head wherever I want now. liking this panel. Lamond, yo, what's up? Welcome to the studio, man. Right now I'm working on my manga burst code. Doing some brush inking. What you up to tonight? Looking for some tips on anatomy and shading, man. Aren't we all? Shit. Tips for anatomy. Can't say that there's general tips for anatomy other than practice and what people don't think about when it comes to practicing is that it's kind of like working out. Just like there's leg days, arm days, core, triceps, traps. There's a bunch of different aspects to it. You can do calisthenics or go to the gym, lift heavy, lift light. You get different, benefits from doing both. Same thing with art. Same thing. And that's something I wish somebody told me when I was younger, man. Hey, yo, Cinesfall, how's it going tonight? Yeah, I would say make a schedule and figure out what you're going to practice every day. Problem is that there's so much to art that you got to kind of know what your goals are, what you're trying to do with art, and then cater the lesson plans to those goals. Yeah. Another thing nobody, well, not nobody, but an underrated tip, I think, is that aside from practicing, observation is just as important. So don't just draw, but look at people and look at reference. And just as important as hand-eye coordination is your ability to observe and notice details. Thanks, man. Thanks. I practice not very often. It's been a while since I used a brush, and I'm actually pretty happy with this right now. A lot of it's focus. As soon as I say that, this brush starts messing up. That's right, blaming the brush. No, it's not the brush's fault. Not entirely my fault either, though. It's the consistency of the ink. There's so many different aspects to fucking mastering a brush and ink. It's my daughter's warm-up drawing. So, you know, you got the brush, you know, you got to make sure bristles are clean and, you know, all that stuff. They're starting to feather. So I got to clean this one real good tonight. But then there's the ink, and not just what type of ink you use, but the thickness plays a part. So sometimes it's not good enough to just use the ink straight out the bottle. You usually have to mix in some water with it. So if you make a mistake, you use whiteout. Or, like Alex Ross used to say, not Alex Ross, Bob Ross used to say, there's only happy accidents. If you make a mistake, you either incorporate it into the piece, or you get out your whiteout, man. So a big part of inking with the brush too is confidence. And if you don't have confident lines, they're not going to look good. Even if you throw a wobbly line, if it's thrown confidently, something about it just works. Kim Jung-gi was a master at this. He was very confident with his lines, even though he didn't have like the most precise control. And you know, how can you? You know, when you're doing live shows and you're painting on a wall, like you're supposed to be using brush and ink like this, going down. Gravity's supposed to help you. But he's using big brushes up on a wall where gravity's not helping him. He's not getting beautiful line work like Frank Frazetta or Bernie Wright's in. But he has confidence in there, man. And his anatomy's, you know, on point, his perspective's on point. So the line weights and control didn't really fucking matter. I love hatching, but no, don't know if I can. For some reason, there's like an icon on my computer that was like hiding part of your comment. I love hatching, but don't know if I can use it everywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't use it everywhere. Be selective. Be selective. There's an aspect to comics and storytelling where you want to draw the eye into the most important spots. So like these candles aren't super important in the back here. They're not super important. I'm not going to over render them. The characters are pretty important. You want to consider the eye flow, you know, so keeping certain areas white or solid black will help guide the eye away from areas and to other places. So don't feel like you need to render everything to death. That can often, you know, make art look flat if there's way too much detail, and especially if everything's the same line weight, it'll look flat too. So and now I got like a bunch of background elements on this panel that I want to work on, and this brush is starting to give me a hard time. So I'm actually going to switch to a pen or maybe a brush pen to get me through this last bit here. a second while I. Put that away over there. Seal up my water. Definitely don't want to spill. So this one's a Fudenosuke. At Walmart, it comes in like a set of two. There's a black one and a blue one, and the blue one's harder, so it'll give you a more consistent line. But the black one's softer, you can get more line weight out of it. How's yours? So good looking on top panel, but has less lines. Yeah, contrast. Contrast plays a huge part. That's where I'll elaborate more. I just need to focus here. So yeah, like I got super darks over here in the corners, and then I got, you know, some strong white going through here, and it kind of focuses the eye. The most contrast should be on figures closest to you, so that's where the boldest lines and the thinnest lines will be on the objects and people that are closest to you. And then the further back you get, the less line weight there should be, and the less detail too. So you'll have lines thin out, and you'll move from a brush to a pen, and that'll give you one line weight. And don't over render it. That's the key. A guy who you should look at for this is Mike Mignola. At least for the black and white composition thing, he was great with like shape compositions and silhouettes, and not putting too much detail in. I love this brush pen because it's super consistent. It'll give me like, there's line weight, but not a whole lot of line weight. a second. Let me see if I can line it up. I don't want there to be super straight lines because, you know, there's no saws here. They're kind of a, you know, I don't want everything being too pretty, and I don't know. They're just not craftsmen. They're survivors, surviving, and yeah, so they aren't like breaking out saws and table saws and stuff. They are working with wood in a pretty raw way. Lamont, I see you have studied many artists. Was it for finding an art style, or was it for something you wanted to learn from those artists? I don't know. At first, it starts just because, you know, you're because I was interested in comics and I liked reading comics. And then eventually that grew into manga, and eventually I grew into classic illustrators and like Frank Frazetta and stuff. So at first it just starts because I'm interested in it. But then as you learn resources, and you know, Jim Lee has a bunch of videos on YouTube. He has his own accounts on YouTube and Twitch. And he talks all the time about Mike Mignola. Mike Mignola is the creator of Hellboy. And when Jim Lee was starting in the industry, Mike Mignola let him crash on his couch. And this was before Mike Mignola was even like super popular and well known for Hellboy. Hellboy wasn't even out yet. So Jim Lee like crashed on his couch, and it was, he had like a funny story about it. But yeah. Yeah, it starts with just being interested, and then when you're passionate about something, you'll go find these obscure this obscure information, the obscure resources, and that's what I did. And then I try to share them with you guys. Just trying to save you guys some time. Hopefully, you guys can avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into. You know. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. You know, I'm an old guy now, so like I'm sick all month long. It's very mild, but annoying. But yeah, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is looking at art like working out, because it really is. Try to have a plan, have a schedule, know what you're working on every day when you sit down. Like, this is all really good advice that I still don't take. Sometimes I just sit down and I'm like, all right, I'll find some reference, something for me to draw. And then I'll just start out like that. When I know I should be working on, you know, my perspective or storytelling or creating, you know, more dynamic art with screen tones. I really want to learn screen tones even better than I do now. Do you read My Hero Academia? Whoever the assistant is on that that's doing the screen tones is amazing. Because I would rather read a comic with screen tones as well as that than any colored work out there. Like, it doesn't seem to matter. Just crushing it. I'm like, holy shit. This is amazing. I'm gonna give this place the vibe that these candles have been here a long time. It's wax. It's built up on the shelf. Yeah, it's kind of crusty with all this wax. But I've done this thing where I've just kind of gone in circles and gone down different tangents with my art and studied so many different things that it just kind of ended up holding me back, not being focused with my intentions. Sometimes you're just chasing trends and or chasing, you know, what you think the industry is going to be and ignoring what you want and what, you know, what you think is really best for what you think everyone else is saying is best, you know. For a long time I chased digital. I chased digital art, tried to be like a concept artist. So I was studying, you know, other concept artists and how to properly do concept art. And all just to find out that it wasn't really for me. Didn't suit my personal goals and not really the lifestyle that I wanted. Honestly, that was the biggest part, was the lifestyle. And then I kind of chased like fine art. I was like, maybe I'll do portraits and stuff, and it's not really for me either. I was like, this is really boring after a while. He's like, okay, back to comics. And he was like, well, I'm still doing the digital, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, I really don't want to touch digital at all, with the exception of adding screen tones. My drawings never look right. Never look right digitally. I'm like, what the hell? Maybe it's just a matter of getting the right tablet. Because I'm still working with like old tablets, old tablets, to the point where I can't even use them now. Like, the plugs that they used don't even exist on my laptop. It's like they won't update. So I'm like, man, I can't even use these two tablets that I've had. Like, one of them is like 16 years old. It's insane. but I'm at the point where I'm like regressing. I'm just almost entirely traditional now. I love this stuff. If I don't have to do digital, I don't want to. Oh yeah, for a while I was chasing animation too. I was going to be a storyboard artist. Yeah. I chased almost every different form of commercial art. It's crazy. Tried going into video games, concept art, storyboards and animation, and some fine art portraits. I was too scared to touch like traditional paints. Too scared. Terrifies me. That's a lot of investment, a lot of money invested there. I don't know if I could ever do that. So another thing that I'm thinking about is, well, what exactly do I need to hatch or cross hatch and fill in black versus use screen tones on?
what's up, Jose? Seems like a very interesting story. Good job. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Working pretty hard over here. So this is the first page of the next issue. And this is page 2. We actually did this on the last stream too. I haven't done much to it other than refining just a few things. And there's a big panel missing because it requires perspective work. So I'm just going to finish this guy's hair and then I'm going to call it quits for tonight. It's already 12:06 over here on the East Coast. So this dude's black. He has like an afro mohawk. I thought that was pretty cool. So kind of looks like a space dandy kind of do up in the front. Yeah, I thought that was cool. What was that? I like that. It looks pretty cool. Yep. So that's what I'm going to call it quits for tonight. Appreciate you guys showing up for the stream. Always love doing this. Lots of fun. And I love all the questions. Any last questions before I go? Check out that hair. Candle switch. Alright guys, that's it from me. I'm going to go get some sleep. Jose, thanks for showing up. Lamont, thanks for showing up. Osinistful. The Shadow Sideburns. And Albert Santos. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll see y'all next time in the studio. Later.